They came to play. They stayed to die. 13 deaths in 84 minutes. This has got one superbly choreographed death sequence every 6 minutes by probably the greatest exponent of the Italian horror film. Oh, controversial. Mario Bava, Bay of Blood. Let's rock.
I'm coming to get you, Barbara.
I'm okay this time.
Voice fading. Keep repeating.
It's only a movie.
Bloodbath. The title I first watched it in back in 1983 on video, before it was banned. Oh yes. Bloodbath, or Bay of Blood, or Twitch of the Death Nerve. What a brilliant title! Why is it not called that everywhere? How is a Bay of Blood better than Twitch of the Death Nerve? Twitch of the Death Nerve. I would keep that title. I would... Oh, if that title is available to rent, I might just go and rent the title. And it had another title. Carnage. And it had another title. Last House on the Left 2. This is considered to be a proto-slasher. This is a film that feels as though someone in a time machine has gone from 1981, having watched Friday the 13th and possibly Friday the 13th Part 2, jumped in a time machine, gone back 10 years to 1971 and tried to remember roughly what the film was about and persuade Italian producers to make the film. That's Bay of Blood. So if murder's your thing, this is the film for you. And it's directed by the late, great Mario Bava. Needless to say, I'm a huge Bava fan. However, my preferences with Bava are for his gothics. Black Sabbath, Black Sunday, Kill Baby Kill. Not exclusively. Love Blood and Black Lace. Love, love, love. And I'm not doing it as part of these 31 because I think most people have seen it. However, who knows? Maybe there'll be another 31. I first watched Bay of Blood, or Bloodbath as it was back then, and it was released on Hakushin, which was a video label back in the pre-certificate days before the BBFC came a knocking in 1984 with the Video Recordings Act. Bloodbath, from what I remember of renting it, and it was one of my very early rentals, I was not keen. I had watched, by that point, I'd watched Friday the 13th, specifically Part 2, which I was always a much bigger fan of than Part 1. The Burning, My Bloody Valentine. In comparison, it seemed incredibly dated. There were a couple of okay murders, but it was dubbed, it was pan and scan, it was not a great copy. It felt very dated at the time. Time has been kind to this film. So when I watched this, I also had no idea who Mario Bava was. I had, from memory, already seen Black Sunday, Mark of the Devil, from 1960, which was his breakout movie, my first official movie, as a director. And I loved that. I loved it. Even though I'd seen this film back in 1983, under the title of Bloodbath, I was still desperate to see a film called Twitch of the Death Nerve. Yes, it's the same film, Mark. I know that now. And I was shocked when I realised that it was the same film I'd already seen that I hadn't really liked very much. Because this had been released in some territories as Last House on the Left 2, it beggars belief, it really does. Sean Cunningham, the producer of Last House on the Left and later, obviously, the Friday the 13th films, had seen this film, taking an interest in what exactly this weird sequel, non-sequel was. And for years, Sean Cunningham had said he'd not seen the film and had not been influenced by it. Now, clearly with time, we all age and mellow, Sean Cunningham does admit that this was an influence on Friday the 13th. If you watch them back to back, it's difficult to imagine it wasn't. The film opens with a rich old lady in a wheelchair in her grand mansion who is hung by her husband, and it's made to look like suicide. And as soon as her husband has killed his wife, he is immediately murdered himself. Greed and the capitalist dream at all and any cost is what is at play here. A group of teens turn up at the lake to party, drink, take drugs, frolic, get nude, get killed. Well, they probably don't realise they're going to get killed. But I think we all know, because in retrospect, we can see where this is going. If only because we've seen Friday the 13th, and since that copied Bay of Blood, we've got a fairly good idea. The big difference between Bay of Blood, and I guess most Giallos, and the latter-day slashers that they inspired, is that puritanical, if you have sex you will die attitude is not here. Yes, some people may have sex and may die, but there is not a running theme of you are punished for your transgression. In fact, in all Giallos, they're all at it. They're all at it. But they don't die for doing it, which is probably a good thing. We should all think about that. This could be my final thought. What's Mark's final thought? It's good to have sex and not die. Be good to yourselves and each other. There are lots of potential red herrings. Anyone could be killing everybody. However, as virtually every character does get killed, it soon becomes more and more likely who could be the murderer, because there's very few people left. The murders here for 1971 stand up really well. The effects by Carlo Rimbaldi stand up, as well as work from Savini, Baker, Winston, from much later. He's an artist. Rimbaldi later went on to create E.T. for Steven Spielberg. Wow, so low budget Italian gore effects to E.T. in 11 years. Now that's career progression for you. Now, kiddies, when your teacher tells you if you work hard and apply yourself, you could make something of yourself, think, you could make E.T. Well, I know E.T.'s already made, but you could make your version of E.T., providing it's different enough that you don't get sued. Bloodbath, in the UK certainly, come 1983 into 84, found itself on the list of 72. The wonderful Department of Public Prosecutions had identified 72 titles that had been released in the early years of VHS and Betamax that they intended to prosecute under the 1959 Obscene Publications Act. They took to court shop owners who ran the video shops. They took to court the distributors. They took to court the video labels. If they could take someone to court, they would take someone to court. So the police would raid video shops. I know, I once was raided. Twice, actually, was raided by the police. A number of films were prosecuted. 33 were dropped from the list, leaving 39 titles that were successfully prosecuted by the police and the Department of Public Prosecutions. Bloodbath was one of the 39. There's a claim to fame. So the ending of the film, after we discover who's been knocking everybody off, it comes out of left field. It comes from a previous ending for the original script that Bava had taken off and plonked on the end of the film. It gives it a very nihilistic vibe at the end. For a 21st century horror fan sensibilities, the ending helps Bay of Blood. And I would say it certainly adds a 0.5 to its rating ultimately from me. It's an ending you don't see coming. You do not see, if you haven't seen it or haven't been told about it, you will not see the ending coming. But it fits perfectly. And I'm not giving it away. No spoilers. No spoilers. And turn off your phones. You don't really have to have your phones turned off now. Although I know you little Jimmy Wilkins, I can see you watching this and I can see you playing your ready phone. Put your phone down and concentrate on what I'm saying. You'll be staying behind and doing lines. If you can think about what lines I can ask Jimmy to write, why don't you drop a comment below? I regret how harsh I've been to the film over the years, up until fairly recently. I've been quite dismissive when people have talked about Bava's Bay of Blood, and have just gone, no. He's made masterpieces, and this is just cheap tat. I think I may have fallen into the trap of thinking it's just a cheap slasher. But of course, when it was made, it wasn't a cheap slasher. It was a cheap Giallo. Without it, would there have been slasher movies? Black Christmas, which is always considered to be the other main influencer of the slasher tropes, would probably still have been made. Would slashers have looked the same? Friday the 13th was such a big change and became the template for many slashers. So looking at this with fresh eyes, looking at a good print, it's a film I believe is ready for a revisit. For anyone out there who is thinking as I did, I think I've seen that film, I thought it was dated, I didn't really like it. It has got sequences as wonderful as anything in Bava's back catalogue. It needs to be watched through untainted eyes, and I think I never really did. That first viewing has always sat there on my shoulder. Bava creates, with a severely restricted budget, what you would expect a cinematic master to create with no money, with oodles of talent, and with a crew that were clearly passionate about what they were attempting to create. Bay of Blood will never be my favourite Mario Bava film. It won't. But it's worth so much more than I ever gave it credit for. That's why I will now give Mario Bava's Bay of Blood, Twitch of the Death Nerve, 4 out of 5. And once upon a time, I'd have struggled to have given it 2. That was Bay of Blood. Here we are. Now we're trucking. What comes next? What could we follow Bay of Blood with? Well, we're on a bit of a roll. We've not had a dud for a while. Let's hope, fingers crossed, no dud here. This is Stage Fright. And this is a film that I loved and still love. Especially the stealth chainsaw. Shh. Till next time. It's only a movie. It's only a movie. It's only a movie. But it's a good one. Laters.
It's